Hey guys, Michael here from michaelsherlock.com. In this video, I want to give you my review of the iPhone 4. This is an extremely polarizing and unique device because it elicits such love and such hatred from people on both sides of the market. There are people that are firm iPhone fanboys that would never even consider switching to another platform or operating system, whereas there are other people who would never, ever give Apple any money, and I've seen this in the comments, would never give Apple any money for any of their products, let alone the crap phone, or the suck phone, or a phone that doesn't make phone calls. Now, I've given you my review of the iPhone 4 in text over at my blog at michaelsherlock.com, and with that video, I gave you more of a spec video, or a spec post, if you will. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and check it out. These are just some opinions that I have from using the phone for a substantial amount of time, over a month now. And just a little disclaimer, I'm going to try to be as objective as possible, but I'd just like you to know that I have been using iPhone since the 3G. I used that for a year, upgraded to the 3GS, and then a year after that, upgraded to the iPhone 4. So I just want you to be aware of that. So on one hand, I have a good running knowledge of the iPhone, but on the other hand, I may be a little bit biased because, as you can see, I've been using the iPhone for a while now. So the first thing I want to mention is the design of this device. I feel extremely comfortable using this, whether that be just how it feels in the hand, or whether that be, damage. I don't worry about this phone getting scratched, and that's a huge pet peeve of mine, whether it be for resale value, whether it be for just the fact that I'm a lunatic. I completely despise damage on my phone. Anytime I see somebody with a cracked iPhone screen, particularly in person, it makes me quiver because I just hate it. In fact, if I was to get, let's say, a scratch on the chrome, which is extremely common on previous iPhones, it would grind my gears for days. So on one hand, I tell you that this is extremely durable and that I don't worry about it getting damaged because it's glass and steel. But on the other hand, as soon as I got it, one of the first things I did before I even took off the protective screen shield and back shield from the Apple packaging was quickly put on a clear coat. And I'll give you a review of the clear coat in a previous video, or in an upcoming video rather. But just for the design, it is extremely solid. Like I said, it's smaller than the previous generation phone, and it just feels solid when you squeeze it. There is nothing on the market quite like this phone. You will not be able to walk into an AT&T store and say, I want something that's glass and steel. They don't have anything like that besides the iPhone 4. That's not to say plastic is bad, but it just doesn't look as executive, unique, and appealing as something of this form factor. Now, speaking of that, the outside is steel, and if you can see here, there are little black lines on the bottom of each side and on the top. What am I bringing this up for? Well, the whole antenna gate situation, that's really been completely blown out of proportion. Let me say, I can reproduce the issue and I can drop bars by using the death grip. Am I trying to tell you that other phones do it, yes or no? That's not for me to say. There are videos and arguments from people on both sides of the spectrum saying, yes it does, no it doesn't, Apple lies, I love Apple, whatever the case may be. But let me say this, even though I can hold it like this and have the bars drop down from 5 or 4 or 1, I have yet to have it actually lose connection to the AT&T network, and I have yet to have a dropped call. Yes, I said it. I have yet to have a dropped call on this phone, and I've had a dropped calls plural on other iPhones, other phones in general, but for the month that I've been using this, 0 dropped calls, which is quite impressive. So let's talk about the operating system next. Everybody knows iOS. Everybody knows this. And if you enter in your password here, if you have it, everybody knows the infamous screens with the infamous icons. So it has become a pretty high standard for phones, this operating system, iOS. That's good and bad. Bad because it's actually become kind of stale. This is basically the same interface that I've had since I started using the iPhone with the iPhone 3G over 2 years ago. That's kind of saddening. I mean, it's very stale. The notifications have not improved at all, which is a big problem for me. And that's something that really needs to be cleared up and something I really don't like about this. Where are my notifications? I've had it where somebody sent me a text message, I was doing something else, I clicked close because I didn't want to have to answer it at that second. Well, I forgot about it and there was no icon under messages because, hey, I already decided that I saw it because I glanced at it. And then I forgot. 2 days later, I got a nasty phone call from that person because I didn't contact them back, and it was kind of important. So come on. get some freaking notifications that work. This is just kind of really annoying and a big pet peeve of mine. And also, iOS 4 is not as stable as I would have liked. Granted, if I look back to iPhone OS 2.0 with the iPhone 3G, there were a lot of problems with that too, so don't get me wrong. It's not always perfect. But when I first got the 3GS with iPhone 3.0, I really didn't have a lot of problems. With this, sometimes there's a lot of slowdown. Sometimes when I'm closing out apps, there'll be some freezing I've noticed. That's not the great experience that I was looking for. This is a 1 GHz chip in here, by the way, 512 megabytes of RAM. It should be able to kick, and it really does kick in a lot of things, but every now and then there's that slowdown, just that imperfection that really needs to be improved upon. Another thing, the fact that it's locked to AT&T is something that has really gotten on my nerves over the past few years. I was like AT&T because their 3G network has a bigger footprint than T-Mobile, and the GSM standard is something I like because when I'm reviewing phones, when I'm using other phones, if I was ever to break my phone, I can easily put in a SIM card. But the fact that I'm locked to one carrier is kind of frustrating. They really need to open this up, and I've spoken to some interesting people. I think the Verizon iPhone is probably coming with CDMA and LTE, but at this point it's not, and it's locked. So that's just a problem that I have with this phone. Another thing I want to mention, the fact that it was supposed to ship in white and didn't, that's really disappointing. I mean, they said they were going to ship in white, then they didn't, then they delayed it, then they said it was coming late July, then they delayed it again, and now it's unknown when it'll actually be released. That's kind of frustrating. I mean, you expect a product to ship when they tell you, and then you understand delays sometimes, but with all the constriction we had with trying to get these bad boys, and the fact that you can still not purchase a white one a month after launch is really a big issue and something that needs to be resolved. So that's my review of Apple's iPhone 4. In conclusion though, I think it's really a solid device. I really haven't had any huge problems with it besides it being kind of stale from the operating system. But I think if you need something with a good internet browsing experience, and let me just say, something that a lot of people say, oh, it can't do Flash. Well, what exactly can Flash get you? It's fine. There are some video sites that don't use HTML5 that you can't watch videos from. Okay, I'm sorry. But a lot of videos are on Vimeo, Vidler, YouTube, and I believe all of them have HTML5 clients. So that's not a big issue for me. Let's talk about gaming. You can't game on this if it had Flash. Think about it. How do you interact with it on your desktop? You probably use up and down arrows, right? There are no up and down arrows on here. So let's just say magically that Flash was implemented on these devices. How would you play games? Do you think this would work? Or that? Or this or that? No, it wouldn't, because the application or game is expecting a keystroke. So Flash really wouldn't even make sense on these devices. Now wait, before you bash me for saying, oh, I'm an Apple fanboy, of course I would want Flash on here. The fact that Android 2.2 Froyo will have a Flash player on it is great, but I just want to downplay the necessity of Flash because this is my daily driver. I consume so much content on this, gigabytes of data per month from AT&T, and I really haven't had any problems with not being able to do what I wanted to do, especially with the Retina display, which is simply amazing. I have a dedicated video on the Retina display, but the fact that I can go to New York Times or whatever website I want, and without having to zoom in, I can get all that quality and all that text. It's simply amazing. And conversely, not only can you consume so much media on here, but you can create so much media on here too. This is a 5-megapixel camera, and a lot of people get taken away by megapixel. It's not that important. What really is important is the amount of light it can let in and the quality that it can take. Again, I did a specific video on pictures and video. Stuff looks great on here. In fact, I filmed one of my Around the Tech videos with the iPhone 4, and besides some issues I had with the green screen, which wasn't even this phone's fault, people really said it was excellent quality. And plus, with FaceTime, although it needs to go over 3G and jailbreaking, you can get it over 3G and it seems to work fine. I know that 3G FaceTime is going to come soon, and I know that it's going to come soon with support for other communications as well, so you'll be able to talk to other phones with FaceTime. That's just another excellent feature that you can have. It's not a very practical thing, honestly. What am I going to do, drive in the car and instead of going like this, talk like this when I'm driving? That'll get banned pretty quick via legislation, but FaceTime is another excellent feature, although the commercials are quite creepy, I do have to say. So, in summation, finally, I went off on a little tangent there. The iPhone 4 right now is one of the best devices on AT&T. It has one of the most solid operating systems, although it is pretty locked down because Apple likes to have control over things. And although you do have to use AT&T, it is a pleasure to use this phone. It's extremely powerful. You can consume as much media as you want, and you can create a lot of media too. I'm Michael Sherlock from michaelsherlock.com. Thanks for watching my review of the iPhone 4, and I'd love to read your comments and opinions on this extremely polarizing device in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.